want to become the fastest blind person in the world to drive a car. And I looked at him and I thought, you're crazy.
How does a blind person drive, John?
Practice, practice, practice. And then, hey, media, come here. On this day, you're not just going to see a blind man set a blind land speed record. Today, history is going to be made. You've got your accelerator, you've got your brake, and the car is automatic. And through this air, through the helmet, together, we're going to drive this car in a way that you never thought you could. Just had your speed of sight experience. Tell me about it. And you're going to give me one of 3 reactions, and your family is going to witness this.
Do you ever feel undervalued?
It's a very good question. I do feel very disappointed. That goes without doubt. But what I would say is the thing that makes us as of course, so from a governmental point of view, they can only do so much.
It's not about when you fail, it's about how you pick yourself up.
What the hell have I just done?
Hello everyone, welcome to the 3rd episode of the FMU Founders Mindset Unfiltered podcast. I'm joined here today with a very special guest. His name is John Galloway. John started off as a sales director in 1997, and since then he was able to work his way up the career ladder, obtaining roles such as CEO, managing director, and even became the president of a well-known networking organization, BNI Graphene. In 2001, he took the opportunity to help behind the scenes of an incredible initiative in which he was working side by side with Mike Newman, achieving numerous world records for Mike, helping with media coverage by leveraging the media company that he owned at that time. You might be asking, what was so special about these world records? And let me tell you now, Mike has been blind for his whole life, and because of the amazing people like John and everyone else who was helping out, Mike was able to break multiple world records and become the fastest blind person in the road, air, and even in water. In 2012, after seeing what a wonderful impact this had on the world, John decided to co-found Speed of Sight charity alongside Mike, and since then, they've been able to deliver life-changing driving experiences to people with all types of disabilities and show the world that what might seem like a setback is really and truly a blessing. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome John Galloway onto this podcast. John, it's great to have you here today.
Oh my God, Albert, that introduction. I may as well just leave the Zoom now. You have said it all.
Please don't do that.
That was absolutely incredible,
that?
and thank you very much.
You're
I'm
welcome.
very humble.
I really appreciate you taking the time for us today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Thank you. So, John, let's go straight into it. Let's put, for a second, all the other disabilities to the side. What I want to know is, how does a blind person drive, John?
You know, it takes, in the particular case with Mike Newman, he is he's probably the bravest person I have ever met. I mean, let's just clarify this. Mike is obviously blind, but can I just say, I'm sure the statistics say, only about 5% of the blind community are completely blind. So Mike's not visually impaired. He has no sight whatsoever. So when you imagine with Mike, and for Guinness rules, when he's attempting a world record, Guinness stipulates that he is not allowed to have any passengers in the car. So he is sat in the cockpit of a normal car, well, I say normal, a very fast car. So Nissan GTRs, Porsches,
Only the best.
Jaguars, you name it, all of the best. He's sat in these cars, and behind him is a chase vehicle, and that chase vehicle is fitted with all of the comms, and they have, if you like, our test driver in the driving seat of the car behind, and you have Mike's navigator also sat in the passenger seat of the car behind, and then Mike is entirely And this is what I proud all of my career on all of my relationships that we foster. Trust. He has to trust the people behind him that they're going to navigate him and keep him on the road to safety. So now imagine it's foot down to the pedal, and all of a sudden you're now moving. You're now doing not 50 miles an hour, not 100 miles an hour, not even 150 miles an hour. Mike achieved his proudest world record in 2016 of 200.4 miles per hour. So that's brave, that's trust, that's faith, that's commitment, that's drive, that's ambition, all rolled into one. So Mike, for me, has been a fantastic friend, a mentor even. With all of the things I've done before I met Mike, pales into insignificance, based on the person that he is as a human being. So that's what it takes for anybody. Imagine closing your eyes and traveling at 204 miles per hour. You're going to have to be made of something pretty steel.
John, what I was going to say is that I've tried walking in a blindfold just on the spot and I couldn't even do that. So I can't even comprehend going 200 miles an hour.
Exactly. So what I will say to you, for many people watching this podcast, they're probably thinking, well, what's blindness got to do with what I'm doing today? And to be fair, there's an awful lot of what that's got to do with why we're having this conversation. So thank you so much for inviting me on.
You're very welcome, John. It's my pleasure. Listen, John, so as you mentioned before, you've got what it seems like you've got many precautions in place. But have you ever had anyone challenge the safety?
Absolutely. So let's put it this way. Mike's first brush with car records for certain. So Mike achieved his first Guinness World Record in 2000, which was a year before I met him. And that world record was in a motorcycle. And even in a motorcycle, right? Someone with no sight on a motorbike traveling at high speed, absolutely crazy. But Mike's biggest ambition was to drive a car because he dreamt of becoming a racing driver. So I got to know Mike because I was CEO of my own web design marketing organization. And Mike was actually my business bank manager. So in 2001, when I met Mike, we got talking. I discovered his ambition. And his ambition was, John, I want to become the fastest blind person in the world to drive a car. And I looked at him and I thought, you're crazy. How are you going to do that? How are you going to? And even I'm thinking, this is intriguing. But what hooked me was he actually really meant it. He absolutely wasn't crazy. He's a successful business bank manager. That was his role. But he was determined that people who were sighted, and this is the window of opportunity that he found, there are sighted people going back in history through Guinness Book of Records who would put a blindfold on and attempt to do these land speed, air speed, water speed, motorbike records. So though that was actually already going on for many decades. So Mike saw that as his opportunity to climb into the seat of a car and to attempt these records. But if you think about the early noughties, that's a complex time. Right. And my role with Mike was supposed to be, if you like, the project manager. I think we gave myself a grand title of team principal. But what that was all about was getting a team of people behind Mike. Because ultimately, what he is doing is life-threatening, is extremely dangerous, and is not to be taken lightly. So my job was to mitigate that risk by making sure that we put a team behind him, safety drivers, engineers. I was very lucky. Mike's navigator Mike grew up with. It was actually his
Well,
stepdad,
there we go.
who is a driving instructor by trade. So he brought a massive amount of confidence and trust. Remember what I said, trust.
All about
You have
trust.
to trust the person that's giving you your directions, and you've got to have faith that everything's going to go according to plan. So with the trust bit ticked off, stepdad and experienced test drivers, one of them an ex-test driver for Jaguar, and then health and safety. Yes, even health and safety has to come into it. Making sure that the venue is fit for purpose, and then making sure the vehicle is fit for purpose. You don't want some old banger clapping out, braking and busting and choking whilst it's trying to get up to speed. You need to know that you have the very best tools available to you. So combination of tools, people, and making sure the overview risk assessment is taken into consideration, and then practice, 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 practice. And then, hey, media, come here on this day. You're not just going to see a blind man set a blind land speed record. Today, history is going to be made.
There we go. That is incredible. You've got a huge team behind you, behind Mike as well, supporting. So, and the question from that is what I want to ask is, how do you make sure you recruit and retain the people who, so on and so forth, get it?
So I would say a little bit, there is what they say, the law of attraction. I think that's the best way to put it. When you speak to me or Mike or anybody in the whole of Speed of Sight, and we are very, very lucky, we probably have an army of volunteers who give up their time to support what we do. That army is in the region of probably 100 people plus, right? And they help us in everything that we now do as an organization, and they're amazing. But what you will quickly find out when you have a conversation with any of us, and I can proudly say any of us, right? I know I probably sound enthusiastic, positive, certainly proud, and some people would say inspirational. I'm not saying that, but certainly what we do is inspirational. So you're either with us or you're not. You either have a conversation with me or Mike or any of our team, and if you get it and it floats your boat and you understand the things that we are aiming to do and the lives that are being inspired, and let me tell you, we're talking about thousands of lives.
Yeah.
We're talking children from age 7 are being inspired for what we've done, because these children are born with a life-limiting disability. Then you've got people who have, unfortunately, later on in life, encountered disabilities. Right, and these disabilities could be losing your sight, it could be having a stroke, it could be having epilepsy, it could be where you are on your journey with Down syndrome or cerebral palsy or autism, right, and brain injuries. There's so many things I could say in terms of the list. So when you realize what we do is inspired and change lives, if your DNA as a human being, you think, you know what, I want to be a part of that. Plus the fact we're not paying you to be involved in this. You've made a commitment as a human being that I want to be of that. I want to be in that. I want to help others. So it's literally people choosing us. We invite them to come and see our work. We invite them to witness exactly what we do. We have conversations. And if they get us, then guess what? They're exactly the same as myself and Mike and the team. And if they don't get us, and I'm not saying everyone gets us, which is fine. That's absolutely fine. And if they don't get us, they say, you know what? Bless you. You guys are doing a great job, but I can't put my name to that. I'm going to do something else.
So for them, they get to see exactly what you're about, and you don't force them in any way if they want to join or not. If it fits them, then you're welcome on board.
Absolutely. So there is, for example, on Monday of this week, we hosted our highly acclaimed speed of sight driving experiences. And these days, as I mentioned a few moments ago, are all about people from age 7. And guess what? The oldest person, 102 years of age. Now, let me tell you about that gentleman who was 102. Last summer, he came to drive one of our racing cars that have been specially adapted for people with all disabilities, along the list that I read out before or I spoke out before. But I didn't add into that mobile people with wheelchairs. So we deal with wheelchair users too. But that aside, this gentleman was called Neville. The last time he drove a car was in World War II. And why was that? Regrettably, sadly, he got blown up in a tank. He survived to tell the tale, but it left him with a bit of brain damage and also loss of sight. So the last time he drove was in World War II. Fast forward decades to 2024. And last year, he drove a car, a racing car, achieved something that he never thought he ever would see again in his life. So from our point of view, our volunteers, and this is the bit that you, hopefully your listeners will hear and see, our volunteers, when you are involved in something like that, it grips you. So I could mention easily 25 volunteers who give up and dedicate their time to traveling around the United Kingdom, England, Scotland, and Wales. I've got people who have been volunteering every single day for all of our track days for the last 10 and 11 years. And they rock up anywhere in the UK, could be 10 or 12 times or 15 times in a year, right? And I'm saying anywhere in the United Kingdom, and they will turn up, not being paid, right? And they haven't missed one experience. They've not missed one experience in 10 years. There's a gentleman that brings, not only does he come, and he's called Ralph, Amazing Ralph. And sorry for the names that I've not mentioned. You know I love you. You know the rest of the Speed of Sight family. But Ralph's a great example. You know, he brings his wife, he brings his sister-in-law, and he brings his brother. He's done at least in the region of 200 plus driving experiences in 8 or 9 years in Ralph's particular case. And he's missed one. So it's because of people like him and his family and their commitment and their love and expertise and respect that we are building a reputation that I have to say is a stellar reputation, because your reputation is what people think about you. It's not what you think about you. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself by. And I would also add in that I could talk all day long about our incredible volunteers, because without them, we would not exist. However, I equally want to cover that by saying our families with these disabilities, the individuals with these disabilities, they are the reason we do what we do. And I'm happy and proud to say to you that ITV was only with us on Monday. And ITV came to witness and speak to one of our participants who grew up with us. He was only 10 or 11 years of age 10 years ago. Harvey Goodinson, wonderful, beautiful soul. Unfortunately, his passed when he was growing up, he was under the impression he would never ever be able to drive a car because he appears to have no legs. But actually he does. But his nature of his disability meant he had no use of his legs at all. And because of that, as an 11-year-old boy, he loved cars, always imagined driving cars, but because of his medical and his disability, he never thought it was ever going to be possible. So he started his journey with us 10 years ago, and he hasn't missed a year. In fact, he hasn't missed, apart from COVID, he's traveled with us around the whole of the United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Wales, and the Isle of Man to receive his driving experiences that we provide. And here's the thing, on Monday of this week, ITV came when we sent them a press release to tell them that, yes, we provide impossible driving experiences for people who will never be able to hold a driver's license. 1 month ago, Harvey proved the impossible possible. And through the friendship, kinship, and instruction of one of our volunteer driving instructors, which he's grown a relationship with over the last 10 years, helped him pass his driving test. And yeah, but none of the above. Without our volunteers, without our participants, we could not do what we do without the incredible support of the business community. So they play a significant role in helping the wheels of the charity turn. And without the support of the business community, we've got in the region of 120 odd businesses that support the cause. And so very significantly, we've got a company called Sigma Capital Group, who have subsidiary companies, the PRS REIT PLC, and also Simple Life Homes. But alongside with them, people like Auto Trader, another organization you may have heard of, Enterprise Mobility, and also other organizations you may have heard of, may or may not have heard of, Kunz O'Hara Insurance Company. We also have the very wonderful Mistoria Group that also support the charity, and even local organizations like the Bolton Hospital Cup. So these are some of the companies you've probably never heard of, but they all, along with the other 120 odd businesses that I've not mentioned, because I don't think you'd want me to talk about 120 businesses, but without those businesses in our Inspire program, that's our Angel program, that's our Inspire program, we couldn't do what we do without them.
I can't imagine the feeling that you got when Harvey got his license as well. You know, seeing him from going from where he was to now obtaining that driving license. If that was me, I'd genuinely, I don't know what I'd do.
We all have tears of joy. Harvey is, and I shout about Harvey because, we recognize that the vast majority of the people, and I'm talking 99% of the people we deal with, we never say never. We always are very positive. And when the world tells our community that they will never be able to drive, we know they can. And that's exactly why what we do is extremely exciting and humbling and wonderful to be in. But when you have someone that breaks out of that you'll never do it, and you pass your driving test, you've got to shout about that from the
Without a doubt.
mountaintops. Yeah,
Even that
absolutely.
won't do it justice.
No, it doesn't. But let's not forget, equally as much, there's a lady that came to our driving experience for the very first time. right, on Monday. So we had over 20 people with disabilities join us. And on Monday, this lady, unfortunately, she had a stroke several years ago. But before she had that stroke, she was a police pursuit driver. She had a stroke, which meant she was unable to continue doing her job. It obviously caused limited issues with her eyesight as well. So she gave up the job that she loved and adored. And on Monday, after driving one of our racing cars, she was moved with emotion to say, "Oh my gosh, I never ever thought I would have the opportunity to get behind the wheel of a car." And that was truly fantastic.
It's honestly incredible, John. It's honestly incredible. And it's moving as well. To everyone that's listening now, I guarantee you they are inspired by what you do and by the charity as well.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I would challenge anybody listening to this now. I want you to imagine, if you like cars, if you hold a driver's license and you love that independence, and let's say you love cars, if you now encounter a disability, that means you'll never be able to drive that car ever again. My dad had 2 strokes, right? And when my dad had his first stroke, he lost the ability to drive a car. He never got over that. Every single day, right? Because of the issues with his cognition, he didn't quite understand why he was never allowed to drive a car ever again. He never got over that, right? And the question I want to ask anybody: if you encounter a disability, do you all of a sudden stop loving cars? No,
I think, in
you
fact, I
didn't.
think it does the opposite. It makes you love it even
Yes,
more.
even more. But
Mhm.
then you're being told, no, no more car keys. No, you can't do that. Sorry, you can't do this. Sorry, you can't do that. And then obviously the fun police get involved, and they start making sometimes life a little bit less fun for people with disabilities. Well, we're not here to do that. We're here to make life extremely exciting, right? And that's one of the things that I will say about our organization. There's amazing organizations and charities out there. Absolutely so. I mentioned my dad with dementia. My mum passed away sadly with some complex disabilities. Um, you know, cancer charities, children's charities, homeless charities, humanitarian charities. They are, to name but a few, all of them are fantastic. But the thing that makes us different, not better, not better. The thing that makes us different is that we're exciting, right? Disability, unfortunately, can take away your access to things. It can limit the opportunities that you have. And then all of a sudden, you've got social isolation going on, right? And then if you've got social isolation going on, it can have other effects with your mind in terms of how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem. It may even bring on depression because of this limited scenario. But if people are given the opportunity to just breathe and have some fun along the way, then we are the antidote to that. We provide an opportunity where people turn up on a track day. And I guarantee, I want you to imagine, now you have this disability. Now you have the stroke. Now you are blind. Now, unfortunately, you're a wheelchair user and you have limited access. So you're used to traveling at a certain speed in your wheelchair, just as an example.
Mhm.
But now you're climbing into the driving seat of a real racing car. You're not in the passenger seat. You're in the driving seat of this bad boy.
You're in charge.
And sat alongside you is an instructor. And the instructor has a steering wheel as well as the participant with a steering wheel. So me and you, imagine we're in the car together. Imagine that my team have just put a balaclava over your face. They've put a helmet on your head for safety. buckled up in the car. You put your hands on the steering wheel, and one of our instructors goes, "Albert, can you hear me?" You go, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah." And Albert, you're excited. You're nervous. You can't quite believe that you're in the driving seat of a racing car. Don't forget, you've just lost your sight.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, our instructor goes, "Albert, you can definitely hear me?" "Yes, I can." "Feel your steering wheel." And all of a sudden, your steering wheel is moving. Says, "Albert, don't worry, I've got your back." That's me doing that with my steering wheel. "Albert, put your feet down on the pedals." "Can you feel those pedals moving?" "Yes, I can." That's me doing that because I've got the same pedals. You've got your accelerator, you've got your brake, and the car is automatic. And through this air, through the helmet, together, we're going to drive this car in a way that you never thought you could. Follow my instruction, and when I say left, 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 right, 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 more power, more power, more power, or brake, 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 if you're not turning enough in the right direction, the instructor's there to do that.
There we go.
If you're not braking enough at the point where you need to brake, the instructor's there to do that. If you're not accelerating at the point where you need to accelerate, the instructor's there to do that. So after your first lap and you've worked out that you're still alive, you're fully plugged in now because you're doing lap after lap after lap, and you'll probably do 20 laps. So you're going to get quicker and quicker and quicker with every single lap. And by the time you're into your third lap, whatever woes you woke up with in that morning, whatever issues you will have to deal and address with every single day, and whatever challenges that you have, guess what? In those 20 minutes in that car, those woes have gone.
All gone, disappeared.
Because you have to live in the moment. And if you're racing a car, you ain't got time to think, "Oh my God, I can't see anymore." Or, "Oh my God, I can't walk anymore." "Oh my God, life is difficult." No, you're totally plugged in.
Yeah.
You are racing this car. You are now buzzing. Whether you're a child of 7 or you're a child of 102, you are loving that moment. And the magical thing is, when your driving experience is over, you will land in the cockpit. Right? And in the cockpit, unfortunately, you have people like me with our mobile phones in hand in video mode. And as Albert comes to finish his driving experience, your family will walk over with me, and it's your family that's brought you there. They will walk over with me to get you out of the car. So the first thing that happens is our pit crew, cars come to a stop, we take off your helmet, we take off your balaclava. You've now got racing driver here, like I have right now. You now have racing driver here, and we will ask you, depending who's behind the camera, more than often it could be me, and I will go, "Albert, you've just had your speed of sight experience. Tell me about it." And you're going to give me one of 3 reactions, and your family is going to witness this. And in no particular order, "Albert, tell me about it." And you're going to go, wipe away those tears of joy. "Albert, tell me about it." You're going to start, woo, effing and blinding, screaming, and some rude words coming out. And you're going to say, "That is unbelievable. I feel alive again." Right? Or I'll go, "Albert, tell me about it." And you will look and look with no words, because your mind is processing, what the hell have I just done? And I can tell you with confidence that regardless of any of those 3 reactions, they will all end result is that people live with that moment. When they go home, they don't forget. when they have a dark day in the months coming or the years coming, they recall that day on that moment when they did something that they never thought they could, and they go away thinking, if I can do that the world has told me I can't do, then what else is it that I could do?
You start to
And
wonder.
really, so I know I talk an awful lot, but it's because the passion that I feel for what we
I
do.
can sense it. I can feel it.
We are the only, and I'm going to say this on air, because if anyone knows of any other charity that does what we do, I want to hear about it. So for the last 13 years, when we launched Speed of Sight, as far as we know, we are the only charity in the world that does what we do for the community of people we work with. Yes, there are military charities that do something not too dissimilar, but this is for people who are ex-soldiers and have served. It's not open to civilians. It's not open to children. And we pride ourselves that 50% of the people we deliver our experiences to are children. And that's one of the biggest inspiring things. Remember Harvey's story, right? We're dealing with children, and people become our repeat offenders. That's our fond way of saying to you that once you've come to our experience once, you'll probably come back again. And I can tell you with confidence, we have new people that come, but we have people who just can't get it out of their blood. I talk about Monday like Monday is a whole day of a year. But on Monday, we had a young lady called Saskia. Um, I actually thought she looked very young for her age, but I was reliably informed she's actually in her early 50s. And she has cerebral palsy. And Saskia is absolutely wonderful. And she received her 20th driving experience on Monday. We presented her with a very special certificate of achievement, and she was drawn to tears, which also made us all drawn to tears. But these are all happy tears. So yeah, it's very impacting for everyone involved. So the business community play a major role in that, a very major role in that.
Before we dig deeper, and a lot deeper into Speed of Sight, I want to talk about Mike for a second. So you mentioned that you met him in 2001, am I right?
Yes, correct.
2001. And at that time, you had a media company in which he was the bank manager, was it?
Yes, so I was the client. So it was my media company. And Mike was my business bank manager. So that's how we set out our relationship, and then from that we became pals. Even whilst he was still my bank manager. So we got to know each other. Um, so if you think about the whole trust thing, think about this. I'm his client, so he can see how I'm managing my business bank account. We have lots of laugh and jokes about that today. 25 years later, we have a ball about that. But nevertheless, I accounted myself with professionalism, integrity. And Mike, bearing in mind, Mike was at the bank for over 25 years. He had a very successful career. So for Mike to decide to retire from the bank after 10 years, and for me to walk away from my media company, and to set up Speed Aside, the organization today, is a big thing. But Mike's story is an interesting one. Where do you want me to begin?
Well, actually, I want you to start in 2012 when you both realized that you shared the same vision and then you decided to co-found Speed of Sight. But
No, go on.
no, well, I was gonna try and put a little entrepreneurial twist onto it. because when you're looking for a partner, it's not just about if you share the same vision. There's also the element of can they be a good partner? What made you decide that Mike was the perfect partner for you?
That's a very good question. I, from past experience, I know what it's like if you get into a partnership that doesn't quite work out. So because of that past experience, I was never ever going to give up my media company easily because I've been running that for over a decade. I was never going to do that. However, because of the achievements of Mike's personal world records, right? So from 2000, from Mike to 2000 to this current day, Mike's achieved 8 Guinness World Records for land, air, and sea. And the reason I'm repeating that is that we then found people who found us and loved what we were doing independently of the work that we now do today. And that gave Mike the vision, believe it or not, a blind man, but for a blind man, he's got incredible vision. Right, so John, I've got an idea. People keep saying that they have lost their driver's license because of disability. And the thing they miss the most is driving a car. So I put it to you, John, that we should leave our daytime jobs. Bearing in mind, I just said to you a moment ago, I would never leave my daytime job because I loved it. We should leave our daytime jobs to set up this organization, offering these opportunities to people with disabilities. What do you think? So 2 things came to mind. Number one, I'd already developed a good working relationship with Mike. And I knew that to walk away from a successful career, I mean, come on, you've got an amazing job. You know, you're working for a bank. They're never going to get rid of you, especially the position that he was holding. So to want to walk away from that and start a whole organization from scratch is massive commitment. And for me, the reason why I decided to go along with it, there's 2 reasons. Number one, I'd already built this relationship of trust, and I'm even gonna say of love and appreciation of each other. We've proven to ourselves over 10 years before we set the charity up how we both are as human beings. And I did love my media company, but you know what, if I'm honest, I love the feelings of the stuff I've just described to you. And I knew that because every world record Mike achieved, yes, there were his world records, but inside, I felt just as much as a achievement of being part of it. Is very, very special. I can't describe that feeling. What I would say is, but I knew together, if we could give that feeling to tens and hundreds and thousands of people, then that is something I want to be a part of. So yes, you got to be very careful when you choose a business partner, and you have to be prepared to invest everything, your time, your commitment, your you, your everything, because you're setting a business up from scratch, and that's not easy, right? Most businesses fail in the first year. I think it's 95% of businesses fail and I wasn't going to give up a business of, well, probably about 14 years easily. And he wasn't going to give up a successful career in the bank easily to start a company up and thinking, you know what, we might not be in business in 12 months. So we were determined to make it a success.
And clearly, it was a success. You guys are still going, and you're still delivering that experience to many people who might have disabilities. So the question that I want to ask and lead on from that is, in that case, what makes a good leader? Not partner, but a leader.
Someone who, I can only speak about myself and Mike to some degree as well. You have to lead by example. You have to be committed to what you're doing. You have to believe in what you're doing. You have to be driven, I imagine.
Yeah.
You've certainly got to have a lot of resilience. And I know from my background growing up as a child, I didn't have the best education. I didn't really get on. I was a child of the 80s. Or I left school in the 80s. That's how old I am. I'm pretty old. I left school in the early 80s with no qualifications, barely able to read and write, very embarrassingly. But there was reasons for that, right? And that's mainly because I had a poor relationship with education. But I knew that there was something about me that I'd be very good at. I knew that. And I knew I had nothing to worry about. So when it comes to business, determination, I know these words all seem corny, but in the broad light of day, right, when you are trying to run a business, you've got to know that you're right. You've got to know that you're the best. You've got to know what your USP is. And you've got to play to those strengths. And you've got to shout about it from the mountaintops because no one else is going to do that for you.
Yeah.
And if all of a sudden you are going on this journey, others will see this, employees will see this, they'll be inspired by it, and they'll be inspired by the leadership of the direction that's going in. But the bit that they're inspired bit isn't necessarily of the people running the organization. It's the reaction of your customers, your clients, your peers. And if those people are impressed and are engaged and feel that you're doing something good, then that's a great platform to be a leader.
It is. It is. Now, if we go back to speed of sight, the thing that caught my eye was the actual name, speed of sight. It's quite powerful. It's quite empowering. What was the thought process behind the name?
So that gave us a few issues. So Mike Newman, no, good issues, very good issues. So cast your mind back to 2001 when I met Mike, and the project that Mike wanted to achieve was to become the world's fastest blind driver in a car. Right. For me to then get involved, where I got involved in it at the very more or less so out of Mike's 8 world records, I've been involved in 7 of them. Right. So when Mike did his first land speed record, he did it with a good pal of his, a lovely guy. And they did something together. And yeah, that even got on TV. That made it on the last Guinness Book of Records show that was televised on BBC One. But Mike wasn't branded. It wasn't any of that stuff. He was just a humble guy doing his stuff. And he set a brilliant world record that I would never be brave enough to do on a motorbike. However, cue me. I've got a web design marketing business. I'm all about branding. I'm all about media. I'm all about shouting from the mountaintops. I'm all about the law of attraction. I'm all about let's make this thing pay. And when I realized Mike's real ambition, and that was to become the fastest blind driver in a car, that's a big project. That's gonna attach the press, right? Rightly or wrongly, because if this thing goes wrong, the person's going to be blamed is probably me or Mike or both. So back then we needed to find an engaging name, and the first thing was we branded Mike Newman at the speed of sight. So we made the brand behind him and what he was trying to do. We then obviously built the team that I talked about much earlier. And with that becomes the brand, becomes the website, becomes all of our communication. So Speed of Sight stuck. So for 10 years, it was Mike Newman at speed of sight. Land speed record in the cars, water speed records, flying aeroplanes, racing trucks, you name it. The guy's incredible. So now here's the thing. We want to set up the organization that provides driving experiences for people with a long list of disabilities. So what do we call that organization? What name do we give it? Because the speed of sight is the world record side of things. You know, we're not asking every day boy or girl or man or woman to do world records. That'll be completely negligent. So in the end, we thought, you know, we've been on TV around the world and back. There's been documentaries, you know, there's ITV, BBC, Channel 4, Channel 5, Sky, the Discovery Channel. All of them have documented these world records. And if you Google them, they are sat there in stone and for history. But we decided, you know what, we're going to take the name Speed of Sight and name that the organization. But the challenge is, when you look at the name Speed of Sight, I imagine that you're thinking it's just blind people. You're not thinking that now because we've had a lengthy discussion about what we actually do. But we are what it says on the tin sometimes. So there's a perception of, oh, they do driving experiences just for blind people. So we decided to add a strap line underneath where it says driving the difference.
Okay.
And that was our way of saying, look, we are called Speed of Sight, but it isn't just about disability of sight. It's about all disabilities. So yeah, that's how we came up with the name. And this emblem in here that you can see is actually an outline of Mike wearing a helmet.
And is that the official emblem?
That's the official emblem. And like I said before, I mean, the organization itself, we don't get any government grants. We don't get any independent grants usually. Right, so we you know, we are a charity who works with a business ethos, and that business ethos is to bring businesses on a journey with us. Because if you are a business owner, right, Richard Branson is famously quoted for saying, "Doing good is good for business," and he's been doing that for more decades than I can count. Now, sometimes for people to follow and for other entrepreneurs to follow, it can be a slow thing because they're thinking, I've got a business to run, I've got profits to make, I've got wages to make, I've got overheads to pay, I've got this, that, and the other. How can I be even giving money to charity? That's not even on my agenda. Forget that, mate. Best of luck, but I've got all of these things to cope with. What we do is we help those businesses. And I've mentioned many of them already here, right? And many of the bigger businesses get it. They understand that doing good is good for business, and it's good for business on several fronts. One, it's amazing for staff engagement or employee engagement. If your employees see you as a leader, as a business wanting to achieve things, and an ambitious business, what people want to see in this day and age is businesses that care, businesses that want to give back. We're not saying give away all your profits. We're saying imagine doing a little bit of good. Imagine spreading a little bit of joy. Imagine if you could inspire some people and even save lives. You know, and I will say to you, I know we have saved lives. I know we've stopped many people wanting to do the inevitable because of their dark days, who don't want to wake up tomorrow because of the disability they have. But we also know many, many, many others, right, who challenge every single day. But they leave our days feeling 10 feet tall. So we simply say to businesses, So corporate social responsibility, CSR, or ESG, environmental social governance. If you take both those S's, so ESG, CSR, we are speed aside. We give social impact. You know, when you have people's lives being touched from the volunteers, the individuals with the disabilities, and the businesses who are overarching and give us the money to do what we do, that is a community for good that have come together. So we are always looking to foster new companies, large and small, who want to get involved in our movement for good. So absolutely, we want organizations, don't care what size you are, get involved. We've got packages for every single business, starting from £25 a month.
And for me, what really stood out was you mentioned it yourself. You said you've even stopped people from doing the inevitable, and you've gone and you've changed that. You've changed them. They've came to you feeling down, and you've made them feel 10 feet tall. And that is inspirational, John. You are a very inspirational person.
I'm not inspirational, but the work that it's kind of you to say that, so thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much. I will take that on board, but I know we as an organization, we live and we breathe inspiration, but we're inspired by the people who are involved of the charity. We're inspired by the people that do what we do and the people we deliver by. So it's an overdose of, you know what, it just feels good. It feels amazing. And to be part of that movement is truly special. It really is.
Would you say that's your driving factor then? The feeling that you get.
Yeah, absolutely. My mom and dad are no longer with me. Going back quite a long time. But what I will say to you is that I'm a lucky guy. I said before that, yeah, I left school with no education. But I've achieved lots of things that lots of people would never, certainly my teachers, would never ever have imagined that I've achieved. You know, and I'm not going to boast about that, but what I am trying to say is, whilst I've achieved those things, the biggest thing that I've achieved, apart from my lovely wife, if she's watching, and my children, like, is this. Um, it's it's pretty phenomenal. We were, Mike achieved an honors from the King. So Mike became a BEM a couple of years ago. I was honoured, unbelievably, from the University of Salford, Manchester. So that was a proud moment. But all of these things happened because of the work of the charity.
You've been through a lot of struggles and hardships in your personal life as well. As you mentioned before, your dad, he had 2 strokes. Your mom had complex disabilities, and even your best friend passed away at 16 with
Wow,
the
you have been doing
I
your
have.
homework.
I have.
Wow. Yes, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
what I want to ask you is, how has this tough journey that you've been through, how has it shaped you and made you the man, the inspirational man that you are now?
Again, you're using these words that are making my head too big. I need to squash it back
No,
in.
no,
Very
no.
safe. Um, we're only people. And you can choose to be two types of people. Either someone who doesn't care and only cares about themselves, or you can be someone that cares. Um, for me, I believe that we all should be ambassadors for ourselves, individuals, for our families, for the organizations we either work for or the organizations we run, and take people on a journey of respect. We're all equal. The only difference is that some of us have to lead from the front, But even leading at the front, you have to have your generals and your lieutenants and the people who want to be on that journey. And if you don't respect them, and if you don't love them, and you don't love what you're doing, then you can't do what you do as an entrepreneur or as a business person. And resilience is a big thing, because not every day is going to be a great day. The trick is having more great days than those days that aren't that great. So I don't know if that's the thing you wanted me to say, but I have to say that's how I lead
Yeah,
my life.
that's exactly what I wanted you to say, because nowadays we've got a lot of entrepreneurs that are scared and worried because of these hardships in their lives. And for some of them, it could be that they're not academically smart. I guess, as you said before, you dropped out of school, but you still managed to work hard, and as a result of that, once again, you received an honorary degree from the Uni of Salford. What advice, in that case, would you give to someone who wants to start their own business but is blaming their environment and their academical knowledge?
Well, first of all, I would say to anybody looking to set up their own business, if you really want to do it, do it. Dream. Live your dream. Chase your dream. What's the worst that can happen? Yeah, you might unfortunately trip and fall and not quite make it across the finishing line. But guess what? Pick yourself up and go again. Like, keep going. And if you unfortunately find that, you know what, that isn't for me, then you know that you will be a fantastic employee, because you know how hard it is to be an employer. But if you manage to keep up and you get up with the knocks and the rolls, and you're happy to go again, it's that resilience. It's knowing that faith in what you do. And the trick is to make sure that what you do is good. Don't be Mr. Average or Mrs. Average. You got to be the best at what you are. You don't need to be, what's the word I'm looking for? You don't need to worry about the competition. You need to take on board what the competition are doing and do your thing. Give yourself the reason why people should choose you and not them.
I can't stress the amount of times that I've also heard the trial and error. You need to keep trying, no matter how many times you fail. It's not about when you fail. It's about how you pick yourself up.
That's the important thing. That resilience is the thing that will build you and make you stronger. It's having great days is fantastic, but it's the days that aren't great that truly teaches you and how to change things. It makes you realize, well, an adjustment there, or a change here, or a slight change of marketing strategy, or, you make these adjustments along the way. Those days are the ones that you learn by the most. And then you look back and you think, wow, you think, yeah, you just have to go with it and enjoy what you're doing, because it's exciting. It's beautiful. Honestly, I love it.
Yeah, I don't blame you one bit. It's been how long? It's been 13 years since the actual launch of the charity, and I'm 100% sure you've had your good days and you've had your bad days. Have you have you seen the support from the government change? Because let me elaborate. When I scroll online, let's say I'm scrolling through Instagram and I come across a charity, most of the time I only see the big charities like CAFOD and the well-known charities getting that support. Do you ever feel undervalued or underestimated?
So it's a very good question. I do feel very disappointed. That goes without doubts. But what I would say is, the thing that makes us as an org, of course, so from a governmental point of view, they can only do so much. Reality is, there's so many people from different walks of life and backgrounds, and just the way that people are living today, and it's a tough environment right now. It's tough environment for businesses right now, as well as it is for the man and woman in the street, and the families. But right from the day that we set out this charity 13 years ago, we knew, because academically, Mike and myself were the only two people involved in the charity. So 13 years ago, it was just me and Mike in a car, his car, like for the first couple of years. And straight away, knowing that I don't come from an academic background, I realized that the only way we're going to get income into this charity is to forge and foster commercial partnerships with businesses who want to support the charity in one way or the other. So most charities these days still sustain their income from grants, whether it be from government or in general terms. And that's okay, but it's a competitive market. And for every grant that's accepted, there's 100 others that have been turned down. So everybody is now going to the same grants, and it's not a high success ratio. We get by, we're thriving. We want to be more successful. We want to thrive more. We need more companies. But 98% of our income comes from the business community and our supporters.
So from sponsorships.
Correct. Sponsorships is exactly that. We ask businesses to get involved with the Inspire Club. We ask businesses to become a corporate partner. We ask businesses who may want to sponsor our corporate track days. And we ask businesses, look, get involved. Check out spearthesite.org. Get involved. Check our videos. Check the documentaries. Check the news. Check what our clients think about us, and for those companies that take the time and want to have that conversation, we're pretty special. I mentioned Auto Trader before as an example, but I also mentioned Sigma Capital Group. And the reason I've mentioned those two companies only as an example, and the same can be said about Enterprise Mobility. Those companies, right, they're leading from the front. They're not just supporting one charity, right? They want to support good causes that do good, right? So I'm not saying that we're the only people they'll come to, but if they're a business that recognizes the value on community and the value of making a social impact, then there are other businesses who don't know Spear the Site that may want to welcome us into their fold.
And with that, we have got those businesses such as Auto Trader for you guys. They're supporting you and the causes that you stand by as well. And it's a great achievement that you've been able to accomplish, getting that support from many businesses, a variety of businesses. In your experience, have any companies approached you primarily just to boost their reputation and not because they actually support the incredible cause?
Now, there's a question. So companies don't admit to that if that's what they're thinking. And I can see what you're saying, because I would imagine that is certainly in some companies' agenda. And I don't have a problem with that, to be fair. I don't. Right. As long as they're an ethical business and they are helping us to do good and helping the wheels of the charity turn over. But what I've found out in my experience is that with companies like that, they're not necessarily as forthcoming as you might think, because they still are thinking, ooh, I don't know if I can give this money, because, let me just say, I mean, when you're investing in a charity, there's no guarantee, it's not about getting a return on investment. They're not buying a product, so to speak. But what they are getting is our reputation. And of course, they can advertise the good that they are doing as a business by partnering with us. And if that's good for their business, I definitely know from an employee point of view, employees absolutely love it. Auto Trader, Enterprise Mobility, Sigma Capital Group, Mistoria, Cultural Harvard, all of those companies and more, right? their employees love the volunteering. When they go back to work, don't forget, yes, they've given us some money to support the charity, but the employees go back to work feeling 10 feet tall because someone's just told them, because of you, I feel amazing today. My life's changed. How good is that when you're being told as a volunteer, you can see this good? And often it's the volunteers that will tell the businesses, give them more money. That, keep giving them, because what we can see what they're doing is incredible. Our challenge is finding new businesses every day. Right? That's our challenge. But we are very lucky that our Inspire program, we have over 120 businesses that donate just £25 a month. But if you do the maths, collectively, they've become one of our biggest sponsors. So for a business who wants to donate £25 a month and have all of the bragging rights that Speed of Sight can deliver, and have an exclusive invitation to come to any of our track days and to be listed on our website as a partner for £25 a month, and you're going to be recognized as a business, as part of a movement for good, it's nothing.
John, I'll be honest. I think that's worth more than any product that you can buy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when those businesses come together as well, either on a track day or a celebration, maybe a gala dinner, maybe an awards dinner, maybe a summer social, or when those businesses get together and they're all in the same room, the camaraderie, that's us. We've done this. We've inspired lives. And then those businesses get to talk to each other. Guess what? We've created another network. We've created a network of like-minded people who may well now go on to do business with one another.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So, as we know, a charity always supports great causes. But behind all of that, it is also a business in a way, because there's stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Not many of us, or not many of the audience, know how a charity works. So the question that I want to ask you is, for our aspiring entrepreneurs, or whoever wants to start a charitable cause themselves, how does the business side of a charity work? Because obviously you mentioned we've got sponsorships, which is a way that the money comes in. How else would they be able to make money?
Right. So first and foremost, and this was very interesting for me, and Mike, when we set the charity up, because we're the founders. Like it was Mike's idea, my idea. Mike ignited the idea, and we came together to say, okay, well, how are we going to make this work in a practical sense? And we recognized that we wanted to be a charity. And whilst I said to you a while ago that this is the thing I'm most proud of, it is also the thing that has been the hardest. I honestly thought maybe, and I don't think I'm an arrogant person, but looking back, I might have had a little bit of arrogance from my sales pedigree, where this will be a walk in the park. It will be easy. Having sold advertising, marketing, websites, you name it, prior to what we do today. This has been the hardest job. Rest assured, this has been the hardest job. And our mindset is that we have to operate as a business. So one of the hurdles you first have to manage is that as founders, you have to have a board of trustees. And here's the thing: your trustees become your boss. Your trustees are the people who are the directors of these limited charities that are limited. First and foremost, they're incorporated just like any other business. But then once you've got your incorporation, you then go through setting up the charity status. So you then turn that limited company into a charitable company registered in England and Scotland and Wales. So you have to go through that process, but by going through that process, you have to have a designated number of people who you would put down as your trustees, who are your governance. All right, so those people are stepping forward to represent the charity from a legal stance. And it's really good to have that, because they're the barometer, they're the judge and jury of making sure that everything that comes into the charity financially is properly managed and not mismanaged and goes where it needs to go. Right. So in other words, make sure that you're delivering the goods. Otherwise, they are legally liable. And those trustees, if we weren't delivering, me or Mike, they have, believe it or not, the power to sack me, the power to sack Mike, because we're not doing a good job and we're not spending the money with a good ethos. So that's the first challenge. You've got to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And then after that, in terms of the income, there's a multitude of different areas, the fundraising part where money can come in. It can come in from sponsorships, partnerships, fundraising activities. So within fundraising activities, it could be something as simple as a sponsored run, a sponsored bike ride, a sponsored tea party, right? Or it could be something far much bigger than that to some extent. It could be, you know what, we're going to have a whole charity fun day. We're going to set up this big event, right? Maybe in a fun fair or wherever you do, and everything today. So it comes in different sizes and shapes. Then you've got regular donations. Right, so your regular donations, that's this arm here. We have an initiative called Angels, and for that, it's aimed at the individuals. So individuals who are employees or unemployed or with a disability or business owners. And we say, look, join our Angels program and donate £10 a month. And for that £10 a month, you're helping one person with a disability in a year achieve a life-changing driving experience. And guess what? You can come down to witness that being done. So you've got donations, you've got fundraising activities, you've got, obviously, I've talked about our corporate partnerships, our sponsorships. And then you have individuals who might want to say, you know what, it's my birthday next week or next month. On Facebook, I'm going to put you down as my charity of choice. And instead of me getting a birthday present, the money that comes in, I will donate to charity. I've got two examples to give you. I've got a gentleman who's one of our ambassadors. What a wonderful guy. In fact, I'll tell you about two of our ambassadors, actually. We've got one guy, right, called Drew Honslow, and Drew is wonderful. And what happened with Drew? Remember, I said to you, we have people that do our driving experiences whose feedback can vary from being elated, from being tearful, or from being completely nothing. And Drew was one of those people. He came to our experience 10 years ago. So he came as an individual with limited eyesight. So he can see, but he can't see enough legally to be able to obtain a driver's license. But he loves cars. 10 years ago, he came for a speeder sight driving experience. And he did it. And I asked his feedback. Drew, you've had your speeder sight experience. How did that make you feel? It was like playing chess. No feedback. Nothing. 5 years passed. We'd never heard from Drew ever again. And you're thinking, ooh, is this the one is this the one where they didn't like it? And Drew, 5 years, almost to the day of having his first driving experience, sent us an email and said, you may not remember me, but I remember you all. And you, speed of sight, have changed my life. You've inspired me to do things I never thought I could. I'm a part-time sim car racer. and I get paid for it. So basically, he's racing cars on computers.
It's
Right,
virtual simulation. That's what
correct.
it is. Yeah.
Right. And he's just an all-round lovely human being. But he said, the reason I'm getting in touch with you 5 years later is because I realized how much you inspired me. So what I now want to do, I now want to raise enough money to give 10 people like me, like I was 5 years ago, to have a speed of sight driving experience. So he surpassed that. He's literally surpassed that. He's now raised enough money, 50 people, to have our driving experiences in the time that he's been back involved with the charity. And as we speak today, he's embarked on a project, fundraising wise, to walk 5 million steps between the 1st of January this year and the end of this year, the end of December, to raise £5,000. So all of a sudden you have individuals who have been inspired by our work who now want to be fundraisers. You know, I've got another gentleman called Joseph Poor, and what another beautiful human being. And Joseph has a severe learning difficulty, but he's the nicest soul you could ever meet. And as another example, with Joseph, he has done everything that he can. He introduces businesses. I speak to Joseph nearly every single week, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week. He is going out there shouting from the mountaintops, getting businesses to engage with us. Right? And he literally helps to raise money as well. Does TikTok lives, raises money to print T-shirts for the charity. So all of a sudden we have individuals who not only volunteering, but also now fundraising. And then you've got businesses who put on their own events. So this, for example, we did a P2K VIP night only a few nights ago at the AO Arena. And that's where one of our sponsors, Mistoria Group, provided an executive box for 14 people. And the proceeds of that, all of that, was split between their foundation and Speed of Sight. Auto Trader, as an example, they did a blindfolded drawing competition in their offices, right, which was really unique and
Yeah. I've
interesting.
not heard of that.
And they're continually coming up with other ideas of how they can support the charity, including being invited on their yearly event in celebration of their employees. And that also led to a generous donation from Auto Trader at that particular event. So there's so many things you can look at in the melting pot. The key is making sure that you drive these things with enthusiasm and support, and just be there in the moment when we're needed. Another revenue stream is public speaking. So Mike Newman is a fantastic, motivational, inspiring public speaker. So we have opportunities, not as many as we would like. So if there's anyone out there that wants to engage Mike as a public speaker, but we eased on some amazing public speaking opportunities, both from BT, BP, Aon, Michelin. There's a fantastic Michelin he's featured in, Audi. So yeah, Mike's a fantastic public speaker. So that brings an income too.
And that's incredible. And from what I've heard that you just said, it's amazing how you've built that community of people that not only take part in your charity, but also try and do their best to contribute towards it as well. And John, let me tell you, part of what we're building here is a community that lifts each other up as well with this podcast. So what I want you to do is I want to give you the chance. Is there anything that you're struggling with right now, or maybe something that you'd love a second opinion or fresh perspective on? And if so, please feel free to ask the audience because they might just have the insight that you need.
You know what? I am always looking for ideas. I'm always, 'cause you never know everything. And what I have learned over the years, even though things might be going well, they can still go better. And even if something's going better, it can go better than that. But you've always got to aspire to be being every other day the best that you can and be better. So we're open to suggestions. Anything that I've not mentioned, definitely open to suggestions. I definitely would like advice on the community out there on how we would get other businesses to want to come on this journey. What would they do? What would they do if they was us? How would you reach those businesses? You know, whether it be from the Inspire Club or a corporate partnership or another idea. Actually, John, have you thought about doing this? I think if you did something like this, you would attract more businesses, more volunteers. Um, but certainly, our ambition is to grow our 120 odd businesses to 300 businesses who are involved in this movement. And then when we get to 300, we may then revisit that. But the initial short-term target is get 300 businesses involved with what we do. Imagine how powerful that could be as a collective of businesses.
I can't even comprehend it. No, that'd be kind of unstoppable.
Honestly, and that means we can invest in more cars. I mean, 2 years ago, we have so this charity's been going 13 years, and in total, we have 8 racing cars, various levels. You know, 3 of them are off-road buggies. One of those is built particularly for children aged 7. Amazing. And then the other cars are proper, full-blown racing cars that are running MX5 gear, so MX5 sashes, MX5 engines, and then on top of that, molded and built around it is a MEV racing car, which has been produced by MEV Kit Cars. Absolutely phenomenal. And we discovered them 2 years ago. Right, and we bought our first racing car of our new breed of cars that we've already got, which was a MEV kit car, and that was donated. The cost of that was donated in the main by a company called Sigma Capital Group, who also part of that group is the PRS PLC and Simple Life Homes, and then the Peter Harrison Foundation, and then the Adonna Community Trust. And they funded the entire cost of that car, which was amazing. Lo and behold, we went to an event to unveil the car that the manufacturer had produced, and the manufacturer secretly decided when these guys come to the NEC arena to unveil the car that they've paid for, but we've built, but the first time they will see it was at the Autosport show at the NEC, which is a massive event. We will blow their minds. So we did that 2 years ago. Me and Mike turned up to obviously be with the car at the show. And then there's a big sheet, and it's clear that there's 2 cars under there, but we're thinking, well, one car's ours and the other car's got something else to do with someone else. So they unveiled it, and they donated the second car entirely themselves. So that was a big thing. So that's another way in which we attract businesses. So we ended up with 2 brand new racing cars, and I'm pleased to say that this year we funded another one with the help of Sigma Capital Group, who invested heavily, along with the other donations, to help the third car become real. Amazing.
Just imagine what you could do if you got that outreach and even more companies started coming in. It would honestly be a life-changing opportunity.
We have the demand.
Yeah.
What we need, the other thing that we struggle with the most
Mhm.
is that I'm very proud to say, and I've said it right at the very beginning, and I've said it a few times during this interview, we go to England, Scotland, and Wales. That's North Wales and South Wales. The second week in July, we're up in Scotland. However, the one place in the United Kingdom that we struggle to find a venue who is happy to look after us and provide us their venue is in the south of England. So if anybody knows any circuit providers who are happy to have a conversation of hosting a Speed Aside track day, put them in touch with us. We would love that.
Guys, you heard it from John himself. And John, I'm sure with the listeners that we've got, and not even that, just the amount of people on social media, I'm sure that we can possibly find a way for you to host that in South London. So to the audience, I hope you guys have taken that on board. John, how can people get into contact with you?
So they can find speedaside.org, obviously, on the web. They can also follow us on our social media, which is Speed Aside Charity. And that is obviously Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. LinkedIn is where we also have quite a good presence. You'll find a charity page on LinkedIn on the Speed Aside Charity. People can also link in with me. I would certainly say that, I would love you to join our community of friends, contacts. So which is John Galloway at Speed Aside. And generally speaking, we want everyone to follow us on our social media, like what we do, share what we do. If there's nothing else that immediately comes to mind of how you can help our charity, the biggest thing you can do, and I've got to thank you, Albert, so much for giving us this
Of
opportunity
course.
to talk about this on your platform and this beautiful podcast series. Right, just shout about us from the mountaintops, and that would be an amazing help.
John, I'm speaking on behalf of the audience here as well. You captured our hearts in the first 10 minutes. We were already back.
I'm blushing now, but thank you very much. It's about the law of attraction, and I love the work that you guys are doing. Keep doing it, and listen, you know what? Leading from the front is what we're talking about. Well done.
Thank you, John. And what's one of our final questions? What's next for the Speed of Side?
So what's next? We have a massive ambition, and we want to have, but it's going to take a lot of money, which we don't have. We want to have our own venue. We want to build our own racing circuit, which will also have a hotel that has all of the facilities for people with complex disabilities. That's wheelchair users, that's hoists, that's everything. And that's going to be a big project. It's going to be a 5-year project. We've already got some successful entrepreneurs who want to be part of that steering committee, but we're looking for other successful people who might want to be part of that story. If you happen to know any wealthy people, this is your opportunity to make something truly magical happen. But in the short term, we're looking for a new home to have the charity located. So somewhere where we can have our cars and our offices under one roof, rather than having our cars in different units. Right, we want to try and put everything together. So short term, a new home; long term, a racing circuit.
And I'm sure even with the audience that are listening now, they could possibly help out with that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, one last thing I will say, when we set our charity up 13 years ago, what is it you call it? There is the fundraising page where a collective, and the name at the moment, crowdfunding, that's the name I'm looking for. So when we set the charity up 13 years ago, we were very naive and didn't understand these things. So we set up a crowdfunding page to raise £10,000. But nobody had heard of us. And with a week to go, with a week to go, we actually we delivered a driving experience, not with the fundraising, nothing to do with that. We delivered what we did. And one of the people who delivered it, his uncle, is involved in hospitals, building hospitals. And he was very interested to see how amazing our track days were. So he came just as a bystander, and he brought his nephew and his niece, and his nephew has no sight, and they had an incredible experience. So we've got this fundraising campaign going on in the back, crowdfunding thing going on in the back scene. 30 days later, well, 28 days into it, 2 days left to go, we'd raised, I think, £80. So we failed miserably. That's the point I'm making. However, right, this gentleman called Alistair, he said, guys, I see you've got a fundraising campaign. Is there anything that I can do to help? So, bro, we've fallen short and it ends in 2 days. Guess what? He literally paid for the whole thing. So, there's some special people out there. So anyone that can help us on our journey, we would be very proud to help them join us.
To the audience out there, we're definitely going to put John's details in the description below. So if you've got anything for him, whether that's advice, suggestions, donations, please make sure to check it out. Because if any man is more deserving, if any charity is more deserving, it's this one without a doubt, from what I've heard.
Albert, you are a fantastic interviewer.
Jeez,
Really enjoyed. Made me feel at home, mate.
Thank you, John. No, same with me as well.
Excited. Yeah, I'm excited to see all of the others of these. Love your trailers as well. So keep doing it, mate. Pretty exciting. Well done,
John. Before I let you go, can I ask you one more question? And this is completely
go on.
What's the secret behind maintaining that heck of a goatee? Because I've never seen something so special. Oh my goodness! What I set my eyes on it, and I might do it myself.
Hey, stop it! I have the same feeling about yours. I can't grow it here. I'm a bald ego here and here. This is the only place I get it. So I just stroke it and caress it and appreciate it and look after it and give it love. But come on, Albert, that's one hell of a beard. I love it.
Honestly, so it does come with trouble. You have to maintain it a lot, and sometimes
you do. I love it.
Well, no.
But you know what? When you look that good, mate, milk it.
There we go. Listen, John, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing not only your charity side of things, but also your personal life as well. I'm sure that all the audience and myself included, we generally do appreciate it. And we wish Speed of Sight and yourself and Mike and everyone that's helping behind the scenes all the best of luck.
What I will say to you all, including you guys, if you go to speedofsight.org and you look at our track days, open invitation to you, VIP invitation to come to any of our track days, just to come and spectate and to take the good in. So you don't need permission to come. Just check the website out. If it's in your area, come along, meet the family.
And John, I will definitely take you up on that offer, and so will everyone else.
Brilliant.
Without a doubt.
Take care.
You as well, John. Thank you very much. See you later.
Albert, I forgot to mention, I mentioned Joseph Port. Joseph Port, who done, we received a driving experience, and so, but he recently paid for a song to be written for Speed of Sight by Youngblood Rap. So so you could, it's downloadable. It's